your hosts, Marcus Katkin and Matt Dougal.
Blindside Fantasy Football Podcast back. Marcus Katkin with Matt Dougal. Matt, the NBA season started tonight. We're a little excited about that. Our DFS addiction can now grow back to daily status for us. I know you're excited.
Oh, yeah. Basketball is probably actually, of the two, not probably, it is my favorite DFS, no doubt. It's every night. It never stops.
I thought it was amazing just how much DFS has just taken over. I'm not a basketball guy, and DFS has caused me to become a basketball guy and get NBA League Pass this year and watch the basketball games. In fact, right before we started this podcast, I was watching the Bulls-Nets game, and I thought it was amazing. On the floor in front of both benches, huge FanDuel logo. Huge FanDuel logo in front of both benches on the nationally televised game. Did you
just say that it amazed you?
Well, it just...
Have you watched television or...
No, I know. The FanDuel
looked in the
and
sidewalk
the
at your
DraftKings...
freaking local...
Yeah, the advertising's everywhere.
It's disgusting.
That's some major money they had to chunk down on that. I mean, I know they've been throwing money around.
I think they're doing pretty good. I think they're making a few bucks.
Yeah, no, they definitely are. It just really shows you how mainstream this is getting. That is a major, I'm sure, multi-million dollar advertising placement right there.
Oh, yeah.
Just amazing. But we're not here to talk about basketball as much as we're excited to go watch the games tonight. We're here to talk some football here. Some Week 8 football coming up. Almost halfway through the season already. Can't believe we're almost halfway through the season. That's crazy.
It goes too fast.
Guys, if you're liking the podcast, make sure to leave us a review on iTunes. I don't know. I mean, I guess let's talk about some things I learned in Week 7, starting with, Joe Philbin. All you needed to do was give Lamar Miller the ball. That's all you had to do.
That's it.
Couldn't do it.
Poor Joe.
That's all you needed to do.
He will never get. He can't even get a job in Pee Wee football anywhere. He's done.
Dante Dye. All he does is catch touchdowns. Literally. First game last week. Caught one pass for a touchdown. If you don't know who he is, wide receiver for the Bucks. May get a lot more play going forward. No Vincent Jackson this week coming up, and Lewis Murphy out for the season. So may get a lot more play.
I got one question for you. Can you dig it? You can dig it.
Stephon Diggs. Matt, I can't see it. Take a look at my GPP board from my video this past week. How'd I do?
Hoyer, McCown, Stafford, Latavius Murray, Lamar Miller.
Miller. Ooh, I said Miller.
Doug Martin. Jones.
Martin was a good one. Matt Jones.
Willie Snead, Nate Washington.
Yeah,
nobody was on.
That's a deep one, huh? You like that.
Ladarius Green, everybody was on that, and then Kelsey.
Yeah. Not bad. Pretty good. Some good picks there. Nate Washington, Lamar Miller, Doug Martin. Some good picks.
Yeah, I mean, if you get points for watching the change in the guard in Washington, too, I mean, you were right in that regard. It
should have quite worked out. It should have happened.
Oh, it did happen.
I mean,
it did happen.
It
was just... they were down. It was a huge comeback.
The value should have come.
Yeah.
Matt Jones, I don't know what he was doing. But let's jump into these Week 8 games. Thursday night, Dolphins at Patriots. We just touched on him, but Lamar Miller last week, 236 yards, 2 touchdowns, in just a half of football. Running back one for you the rest of the way?
It's looking like that, but the matchups weren't very difficult.
I don't care.
And the high of switching the coaches, the excitement. Tannehill actually mentioned it's not about the X's and O's. It's just about...
On. Speaking of which, the high of changing the coach. I'm switching this back to basketball for a second just because I wanted to mention it in the intro, in the opening there too.
Yeah.
Watching the beginning of the basketball games, you'll get a kick out of this. The announcer's getting all hyped up, announcing each of the starting guys, and the lights are going, and everybody's all excited. The crowd's getting all pumped up. You're one of those players. They do that every other night. That's got to be so kind of boring-ish for them.
Yeah, but opening night, it's exciting.
Yeah, opening night, but you could just see some of the guys in their face. Oh, yeah, that's my name. High five. Like, it just, I don't know. It's the only sport that you see.
How does it get old?
You don't see that in baseball, though. You don't see it in football. It's just kind of...
Yeah, I don't know how it gets old when you got thousands of people screaming your name like that.
Yeah, I guess. All right, sorry. Go back. Lamar Miller.
Like I said, I mean, we'll see. What did you ask me? RB1 rest of the season?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely for me. I was trying to
like we talked about last week. We were both trying to trade for him before the coaching change. After the coaching change happened, I mean, all they talked about was getting to the running game more often. Tannehill 18 and 19. You kidding me?
Throwing the ball deeper too, looking good.
Deeper.
Longer passes.
No, I'm pretty sure he didn't have a completion of over
have to go back
15 yards through the 10 yards through the air. Yeah. Run after the catch is what happened for him. That's how he was 18 for 19. I'm pretty sure there was not a completion thrown down the field more than either 10 or 15 yards.
Lamar Miller, though, tougher matchup this week against the Patriots. Matt, you know me. I don't usually play in the Thursday night contests. I like Lamar Miller. I especially like his price from DraftKings. It still didn't really raise up that much this week. Tough against the Patriots, though. Especially going into Gillette. You're not favored in the game. It's the game script is not in your favor. Lamar Miller does catch the ball a lot, but
yeah, I mean, especially after week 1, we all thought this Patriots run defense was a sieve. They've really turned it up. They're the number 5th overall against the run now. It's a totally different team after week 1. The way D'Angelo Williams looked like he was 25 again, carving him up. I thought this was going to be a big struggle for the defense, but they've picked it up. So we'll see. I mean, we've got basically a running back that's as much on fire as anybody in the NFL versus a run defense who, over the last few weeks, is also about as on fire as there is. So it'll be an interesting clash. But God, he's looked good. Just keep feeding him the ball.
Yeah, that's all you got to do. Joe Philbin, that's all you need to do. After snagging his first 2 touchdowns of the season, Jarvis Landry jumps to wide receiver 17 on the season. But the Miami receiver that I really think is going under the radar is Rashard Matthews, the number 22 wide receiver on the season, 75 or more receiving yards in 5 out of 6 games, and 4 touchdowns on the year. Both get the advantage of playing the Patriots secondary that's allowing the 6th most points to opposing wide receivers. Obviously, more than touchdown underdogs in this game. They're going to have a positive game script because they're going to have to throw the ball. I think I like both of these guys this week.
Yeah, don't look to the targets last week. There were 19 pass attempts, so nobody's going to be high in that regard. He had 3, but it's the amount of playing time since the coaching change has drastically improved.
Yes.
Beginning of the year, I thought it was fool's gold just because of the time, and I figured that Devontae Parker would become more and more involved in the offense, and it's almost like with the coaching staff, there's been a complete change in that regard. Devontae's, I think, playing even less, and then obviously Matthews has been almost a staple in every 2 wide receiver set situation. So, yeah, you got to like them both. Definitely a game they're going to have to score a few points to keep up.
Yeah, Matthews last week, let me bring it up here. Actually, only 67% of the snaps last week because of the blowout.
Yeah.
But the week
before it was like
90%.
Yeah.
He actually second on the team behind just Jarvis Landry. Patriots side of the ball here, they now have the number 1 fantasy quarterback, number 1 tight end, number 1 kicker, but they also have they have 1 top 15 wide receiver and 2 top 26 running backs in Lewis and Blunt. I mean, I guess there's no news there. Patriots are an offensive juggernaut. Just surprised to see Blunt already getting up there, top 26 in running backs, considering his usage at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, that's what touchdowns do, but it's just so. I mean, Dion Lewis was out last week.
Yeah,
Blunt negative points. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, they really went to pass heavy offense. 54 passes.
Ran the ball basically every time. It was.
You pass the ball.
Sorry, yeah. I mean, it was just. It's the same situation for me. It's just tough to trust a Patriots running back and pinpoint which one it will be from week to week. On top of that, so
Brandon LaFell came back last week.
68 drops.
Yeah, 6 drops in the game. But I did find it encouraging. He played 72% of the snaps and had 8 targets. Is he going to be a wide receiver too for you the rest of the season? He is for me.
No,
done and done. Top 25-ish.
Rest of the season. I mean, that's what he was last year, I think, right? 24, 25.
He was higher than that.
23, 24. He was top 24. And yeah, I mean the targets were there week 1. Obviously, I'm joking with the drops. He's a veteran who's a decent player. This is obviously a situation of just coming back, not being used to game speed, and kind of knocking the rust off. He certainly knocked plenty of rust off. Hopefully, there's really should be none left, and if there is, then maybe we got to think about this top 24 rest of the season thing. But I imagine no one's gonna. Brady's not giving up on him. He understands.
Last season he was tied for 21st.
21st
wide receiver. Also, Danny Amendola, 85% of the snaps last week, 9 targets in each of the last 2 weeks. Danny Amendola.
Are you picking him up? Yes. You playing him if you need to because of a bye? Yes.
It's Danny Amendola. I don't want to buy into it because it's Danny Amendola, but it's hard to deny 85% of the snaps, 9 targets, 2 weeks in a row from Tom Brady.
Made some huge plays last week too, and he's done that in New England. He's
and with
solid player.
With LaFell back, it just kind of hard to trust him. But like you said, I'll speculative pick him up and see what happens.
Yeah, in that offense.
Lions at Chiefs. Charkandrick West outsnapped Niall Davis 55-3 on Sunday.
Yeah, it's over.
Guess
we need to talk about that again.
Pretty safe to say that Niall is not getting the starting job anytime soon. And I just want to say how mad I am at myself this weekend. After Macklin was ruled out with his concussion issues, I built a Millie Maker lineup with Albert Wilson in it, and I don't know why. Because I looked at the numbers before that, and Chris Conley was getting targets the week before. I don't know why I didn't just go with Chris Conley. 24 targets now in the last 4 weeks. Had 6 for 60 and a touchdown. He's starting to look like their wide receiver too.
Yeah.
God, do you really want the wide receiver
no,
two on the Chiefs?
Absolutely not.
But just for deeper plays, I just wanted to throw that out there. Matt, how many times this season has Amir Abdullah rushed for more than 50 yards?
Once.
None.
Nunts times. Even
Nunts
week one?
Even week one.
All right. Thought he had like 51 week one.
That's really bad.
Yeah, and he also played a very minimal amounts of snaps this week. Don't have the percentage in front of me. I don't remember, but very uninvolved.
Exactly 50 yards week one.
All right.
And I worded
what was
the
question?
More than 50. How many times he ran for more than 50?
You tricked me, you son of a.
Semantics.
So did Abdullah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Thought he was going to be good.
Back-to-back games with a touchdout for Calvin Johnson. Is he back?
Is he droppable, by the way? You dropping Abdullah?
No, but it's getting there.
Yeah. If it's not happened by now, man. Calvin.
Yeah.
Throw the ball to him more, please.
Is he back?
It's 6 targets this week. What are they doing?
I think he's back.
7 targets was it?
Yeah, no more Joe Lombardi, so maybe it changes.
Yeah, and the new
Jim Bob Cooter,
new head coach. Yeah, new offensive coordinator coming off the quarterback coach position. So there's a lot of talk about he knows Stafford, knows his positive traits. He can kind of more reflect what he's going to be able to do on the field well. So hopefully that correlates to Calvin. Yeah, and he's had 2 solid weeks in a row now.
Yeah.
But I need to see more targets to him.
Chiefs dead last against opposing wide receivers. Great matchup.
Yep.
I like him again this week.
It was a tough matchup for him last week too. The Vikings are a pretty good defense, and they, it didn't matter. He looks like he's kind of back to where we thought he would be.
Bucks at Falcons. Doug Martin, 3 straight games with over 100 rushing yards, involved in the passing game as well with 11 receptions in the last 3 games.
And he looks damn good doing it.
He's the number 3 fantasy running back. Is he a running back 1 to you? No doubt in my mind he is.
Yeah.
That's weird to say, but it's true.
Low end, very low end for me. Yeah. Charles Sims is a very good player.
Sims has actually himself had a pretty nice fantasy season so far, getting really involved in the passing game.
Costly fumble at the end of last week's game. Hopefully that doesn't get him in the doghouse. If you're a Doug Martin owner, you hope it does. Either one of these guys go down, you've got a stud. And I think in Martin you have pretty much a stud anyways. And Charles Sims is no doubt a flex weekly guy.
He's getting there, yeah. By the way, Matt, I didn't mention it on the air. I didn't mention it in my GPP video, but little credit for Mike Evans last week. Kind of told you a little bit about him.
I can vouch for it.
Great matchup last week. Came through with an 8 for 164 and a touchdown performance. I'm assuming you have Mike Evans over Vincent Jackson rest of the season.
Definitely.
Okay. Let me ask you this, though. Rest of the season, in a bubble, Mike Evans or Doug Martin?
Doug Martin, the running back.
Running backs are more valuable positional-wise. I think that's a lot closer for me. Yeah, I guess I'd probably still lean Doug Martin just because Winston's been very unpredictable. But two.
No, he's been pretty
or
predictable.
pretty predictably bad.
Yeah.
Is it scary that a lot of people were upset by Dante Freeman's performance last week? I mean, I'll take 130 total yards from a running back anytime. But that was disappointing to people because of the expectation he's been setting.
I hear, but for me, it's more about, the workload was still there.
Lots of work for him, too.
I mean, I was worried, and obviously it's gone for me now, that when Coleman came back, he would get some work. He's nothing but a guy who's going to come in to give Freeman a breather. And can I please ask you to this guy's doing pretty impressive this season. Can you just say his name right? It's Devontae.
It's Devonta.
Yeah. You said Donta.
No, I said Devonta.
No, you didn't. We'll replay this. That's the beauty of it. It's being recorded.
Yeah. Anyway, Tampa Bay has not allowed a rushing touchdown to a running back since week 3. Does that affect your thoughts on Freeman this week?
Yeah, I mean, sure. But no, I mean, it's the frequency of his usage is just through the roof. He's too talented. He's matchup proof. It's like, yeah, I guess it's not going to be my favorite situation, but
DFS,
it doesn't matter to me.
Right. I mean, obviously, if you have him in season long,
and I'm not staying away. I'll never stay away from him in DFS ever again. No? I don't think. And I play mostly tournaments. It's I'm not going to play him every lineup certainly, but I don't think I can ever just completely fade him the way he's been looking. And I like how he's so involved in both facets of the game and what we think's a good offense. I mean, not this past week.
It's a great offense.
10 points against Tennessee.
Yeah.
I mean, that was interesting, but yeah.
Another great matchup here for Julio Jones. Bucks third worst against opposing wide receivers. You don't need me to give you reasons to start Julio Jones.
No, he only had 17 targets last week. That's a little bit unfortunate.
Only. Cardinals at Browns. Matt, I love the Cardinals offense, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, but Chris Johnson is a must-start this week. That's weird to say.
Yeah, it's...
I don't think I've said that since 2012.
Right? I agree with you.
No words.
I agree with you.
I mean,
absolutely.
Chris Johnson, your number 8 fantasy running back on the season, gets the Browns defense that has allowed a top 10 running back in every week this year, except last week to Matt's boy, Latavius Murray, who finished 14th.
Can't beat him. Right now, it's insane. The value you're getting out of a guy named Chris Johnson is unreal.
Start your running backs against the Browns. I mean, Cardinals are favored in this game by 5 points, so game script is going to be to his advantage. That 62-yard run, by the way, he was down.
He was down.
He wasn't down.
No, but
they should have blown the whistle because the play should have ended.
They're trying to make the league soft.
Yeah.
So you make plays like this happen, you're taking a backward step, NFL.
I know it's just 2 weeks and 2 games, but Cleveland has allowed just 15.9 fantasy points to quarterbacks over the last 2 weeks. Those quarterbacks were Peyton Manning and Nick Foles. 15.9 total points to quarterbacks.
Yeah, but those guys both aren't very good.
I think part of it, too, is you can run so much on Cleveland, you don't need to throw.
Yeah.
I think that's part of it, too.
That's probably true. But let's face it, like I said, neither one of those guys put a twinkle in my eye.
I'm not sure what else to say about the Cardinals here. You're starting Palmer, you're starting CJ, starting Fitz, starting John Brown. That's really it for Cardinals side.
Yep.
Brown side, I think the only guy you're really considering playing in this game because of the tough matchup is Duke Johnson. Arizona's 7th best against the running back. The Browns are going to be down in this game, going to need to pass, and Duke Johnson now 31 receptions in his last 5 games. Yeah,
he's got a clear role there, no doubt. He leads the team in snaps for the running back carousel that they've got going on with Turbin in the mix now. He's also a lock for 5 to 10 carries a week on top of the catches that he's been getting. So the touches are there, and he's a guy who's got some serious skill and some space, and that's why they like getting involved in the passing game. I just wish they would just turn the job over to him and let a guy get going.
See what happens.
Yeah, I mean I don't know.
Obviously, Crowell has fallen out of favor too. He's 3rd last week out of all the running backs for snaps.
Yep.
So 49ers at Rams. Wow. All of the Rams defense.
Gary Barnidge just keeps going.
That's still happening. That's still a thing.
I think it's a thing. It's not a thing anymore. It's what can we say?
We talked last week about
for real.
To Barnidge or not to Barnidge.
Yeah, that's true.
It's really becoming a thing. 49ers at Rams. all the Rams defense for me in DFS this week again.
Yeah, you were all over that last week. Great.
I was all over it last week.
25 points, I think, on FanDuel.
And on DraftKings, both of them.
Yeah,
25
I'll give you
fantasy
credit
points.
for that. I played them all over the place.
But Rams defense again, I think, this week. 49ers just 15 implied points according to Vegas. Rams are 9.5-point favorites at home. I mean, you couldn't ask for a better situation. Like you mentioned, last week they were the chalk play. On DraftKings, they were only $2,400. On this week, DraftKings adjusted for that, made them $3,200.
Still worth it.
I think it's either them or another defense we'll talk about later, but awesome play, elite play defense this week for me.
Yeah, the Niners defense against scoring an average of 9.9 points a game this year. Can't ask for anything better than that, I guess, unless you're playing the Rams or the Titans.
And Todd Gurley, 3 straight games now, over 125 rushing yards. Basically all the games since, obviously the first one he didn't because he was on a snap count, first game in the league, but since then he's just been blowing it up. I feel like he's going to be this year's Odell Beckham Jr., but just at a different position. A guy that started off the season hurt, missed a few games, and then basically just blew up the rest of the season and could finish potentially as the number 1 running back.
Yeah, it's like this year's Stephon Diggs.
He's got a lot of catching up to do because of what Freeman has done, but top 5-ish. You know what I mean? He's going to get in there by the end of the season.
Do you like that? Did you hear me?
Yeah, you're doing everything you can to fit Stephon Diggs.
We'll talk about him later.
And everything. Oh, I'm sure we will. Anything you want to add about Tavon Austin?
Led the team in targets. You know what? Gurley immensely improves this offensive situation. The guy is insane. He's not going to score every single touchdown that they have. And they like to get Austin involved. I think he's definitely a rosterable guy who you may be able to end up almost counting on for a flex type later on in your season if you start to believe it like I do.
49ers side, ugly. Carlos Hyde fractured foot and just looks horrendous. I think the only play maybe that you do in this game, if you want to really be contrarian, is a Kaepernick-Bolden stack. Kaepernick, obviously, with his rushing, can always get you some points, but Bolden back-to-back 100-yard receiving games before this past weekend, so Bolden obviously Kaepernick's favorite target when he does get the throwing game going. But if I can help it, I'm trying to stay away from the 49ers.
Yep. Staying far away from the 49ers.
Giants
Rams are not an easy matchup for quarterbacks, only letting up about 12 a game on average. So Kaepernick's certainly not a guy to be touching this weekend.
Like I said, GPPs maybe.
Contrarian, I guess.
Throw a dart. Giants at Saints. What's better than a 3-headed running back by committee, but a 4-headed running back by committee?
Yep.
Man, Orleans Darkwa, 8 for 48 and a touchdown, and Tom Coughlin came out and said the workload was by design and that the coaches felt strongly that he should be given an opportunity. Ugh. Ugly. I don't want any Giants running back.
No, but if right now, if I've got to pick, I'll pick him up.
Yes.
Running back's such a valuable position. Let's see what happens here.
Pick him up and see what happens, but not touching him anywhere near starting lineup.
I'm looking for it right now. I'm not going to spend much time looking for it because Darkwa.
What are you looking for?
The Newark Star Ledger believes that Darkwa's earned more playing time moving forward. We'll see what the hell that even means. Yeah, who are they, right? But I don't know. For me, like you said,
wait, they still have newspapers?
Yeah,
these are still a thing. That's the biggest story right here.
Listen, Jennings and Williams, even Vereen, nobody's killed it, so sure. Maybe somebody takes a job here. Certainly not a guy that I'm going to drop much for, but if I've got a spot to burn, why not?
After 2 really bad games in a row, I really like Eli and Odell Beckham against the Saints secondary in this game. I think that stack makes for an elite tournament play, in my opinion. Saints are terrible against the pass. Terrible.
Yeah, Beckham just worries me with his hamstring. He's been dealing with it for a month now, and it's just not getting better. You can kind of see it, too. He doesn't look as explosive out there to me. I don't know.
No, but like I said, they're going to be... Eli will be less than 5% owned in tournaments this week.
Yeah.
Odell Beckham, probably a little higher than that. Probably in the, 10-ish% range, maybe.
Maybe. He's around. We'll see where I haven't looked. Where's he at price point wise? Because
I haven't brought it up.
last week he was still very close to guys like Julio Jones. It's a guy that I pivoted to last week against what I thought was going to happen, and not that I liked him quite a bit last week. I just thought everyone's going to be on Hopkins and Julio, so I went $400 less. Beckham, if he's still around that price point, I think his...
So I went even less last week, and I went down to Antonio Brown.
Yeah.
It kind of worked out.
Yeah. If there is that close in price range, I think he's definitely still going to be pretty low owned because, let's face it, if I can spend $400 more bucks and get Hopkins, I want to.
So Drew Brees this season, 5 out of 7 games with 1 touchdown or less.
Yeah, who's he got to throw to?
Watson. Is that it, or do you think they're going to the running game, that whole mantra that we heard in the offseason?
Well, probably a little bit of both, but realistically, they're lacking weapons on the outside. It's, Cooks is not fit to be a number 1 wide receiver. They got a bunch of guys playing that, and he's still doing okay. He's still doing all right. And yes, they're running the ball more. They're making that a focal point. Definitely down in the red zone. Kyrie Robinson. I'm sure all you Mark Ingram fans are pretty pissed off this week. I don't know how mad you can be because he had a pretty good week regardless. But yeah, what do you think? It's just I think this is what this team has become. Drew Brees is not an elite quarterback anymore.
See, but like you were saying, I don't think it's on Drew Brees. I think Drew Brees looks fine. He just doesn't have the weapons. Yeah,
so, I heard one of the podcasts I listened to, they kind of mentioned, and this is exactly how I feel, too. He's still an elite, real-life quarterback. Fantasy quarterback, I think we got to just take him down a notch. Yeah. Nobody to throw to.
Vikings at Bears. Matt, you got 30 seconds on Stephon Diggs. Go.
Why don't you? Go ahead. Everybody knows I like him. I want to hear what you think.
I don't know. Yeah, he's the number 1 receiving option from a below-average fantasy quarterback.
He had over 300 yards passing this weekend. I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that Diggs, every time you drop it back, he's open.
I will say this about Stephon Diggs. 19 for 324 and a touchdown these last 3 weeks. 28 targets. And Bears 5th worst against opposing wide receivers.
And he has... at least half of the team's 20-yard receptions are longer now this year, and he's only played in 3 games. Yeah, he's explosive. He's extremely quick and out of his cuts, and he runs outstanding routes. And that's he's open all the time. If you watch these games, it's just insane how often there's nobody within a yard or 2 of him.
Kyle Rudolph, touchdown in each of the last 2 games. Do we care?
That's all he does.
That's all he does.
He's touchdown dependent. He's one of the tight ends like the rest of them, who's slightly better because he scores quite often.
I did like what I saw out of Alshon Jeffrey before the bye, 8 for 147 and a touch, but Minnesota's 7th best against the wide receiver.
Yeah, good defense in Minnesota.
Anything else Bears side you want to talk about?
Obviously Forte, but like I said, this is a defense that is solid.
It's very good.
Yep. So
DFS, I'm staying away from pretty much all the Bears. I got to double check Alshon's price. If his price is still down, maybe he's intriguing.
And I'm still all over the Vikings defense. Yep. 7 sacks last week against Stafford.
Yep.
And I think they're going to continue that this week. Cutler is a guy who's prone to interceptions. We know that, especially while being pressured, and Vikings bring it as good as anybody. So.
Chargers at Ravens. Well, here it is. Target your running backs against the Chargers. This week you get Justin Forsett. Despite being very up and down as of late, Forsett has managed double-digit fantasy points in standard leagues in 4 straight weeks. And technically, this isn't necessarily what you look for. Well, this is what you look for. A running back favored at home with a great matchup. I guess everything's going in his favor as far as, DFS-wise. You want to stick him in there.
Gotta love him. Absolutely. The Chargers' run defense is not something to be worried about at all.
Matt, I turned 34 in a little over a month. Steve Smith is 35. Steve Smith has broken bones in his back. He continues to play football.
Yeah, he's insane.
You know what happens to me if I get a cold?
I know.
I am in bed for 3 days.
Yeah.
The world has ended.
Exactly, yep.
Steve Smith is a wide receiver 2, a solid wide receiver 2 with wide receiver 1 upside, and gets it done every week.
Some mornings, my cramps from the morning dump make me, incapable of walking. It's like, and it's just, we all know, though.
Amazing.
We all know what this guy is, and he's an animal at 5'9", has continued to dominate a league full of elite specimens.
Check him for HGH.
It's
That's
insane.
all I'm saying.
Hell no.
All right,
It's just
so
mean.
Carson Palmer on Monday Night Football didn't exactly carve up the Ravens like we were expecting, but Phillip, number 2 fantasy quarterback this season, I think he's going to go nuts against the Ravens this weekend. He's thrown for 300 yards and multiple touchdowns in 4 straight games. I honestly don't see any reason why that ends here.
Phillip Rivers is on a bad team, and the fact is that he's actually a very good quarterback. So they're down quite a bit.
Great matchup. Game script should have them down in this game. He's going to throw the ball a lot, and he's going to do well again.
Absolutely.
And by the way, I don't think what Phillip Rivers has done so far is going to end anytime soon.
Right.
He gets the Ravens this week. Next week he gets Chicago, then a bye, then Kansas City, then at Jacksonville. Denver, you're a little scared of after that.
Back to Kansas City, so don't be scared.
City. Yeah, those are excellent. I mean,
should we stop there?
That's
Miami, Oakland. Oakland's been all right. Yeah, they're not the regular Oakland.
But I'm just saying, I mean, for the next month and a half, he's got great matchups. This isn't going to end anytime soon. I like Phillip Rivers.
Is he going to finish as a top 2 standard scoring quarterback?
He'll be top
with that schedule.
Top 5.
Definitely.
Not
top 5. Definitely.
Not
if he's top 2, if he finishes number 1, I won't be with the schedule he has, and as bad as this offense. I mean, as bad as this team is. I mean, it's like fantasy gold.
The other thing too is until recently, none of the running backs were getting involved in the red zone. Danny Woodhead weeks 1 and 2, 8 red zone looks week 1, 1 week 2, 0 each of the next 3 weeks, and then 6 2 weeks ago and 3 last week. So they are starting to get their running backs more involved in the red zone, but for the most part, they don't. This is what Phillip Rivers does. They get in the red zone, they throw the ball.
Yeah, Gordon last week. Interesting. Before the game, they said he wasn't going to play. He got his first snap when it was 37-6. What's up with that? What's the point of bringing him in at that point? Was it kind of like a slap in the face? You sit down for the week, and then the game got so out of hand they just decided to give him some carries, or is this what he is now? Is he the backup? Is he a backup running back?
I don't know.
It's interesting to me. Is he a buy low candidate? If you can tell him, hey, this guy didn't play until the game was over.
No.
He's
one of those guys that still needs to be on a roster, but isn't starting, and I'm not buying low on him. It's just kind of there.
Yeah.
One last thing I wanted to point out. I love a Phillip Rivers, Keenan Allen stack this weekend. Allen should have Jimmy Smith on him. Jimmy Smith is allowing the 4th most passing yards out of any cornerback this season. I love that stack this weekend.
And another, I think, 13 targets this week, Keenan Allen.
Yeah. He's just a target monster.
And he was slightly banged up.
Yeah.
Still, he's having a great third year, bounce back season after a really good rookie year.
Actually,
and disappointing
and
week,
if Gates sits out again this weekend, makes him even more attractive.
And it looks like he's going to.
Yeah. It's not looking good.
It's MCL. I mean, like I said last week too, that's what keeping Ben out. And it's, this isn't just an injury you run around with, especially when you're a tight end who relies on, quickness in shorter areas, and it's
your athleticism.
Yeah.
Bengals at Steelers. Antonio Brown is quarterback proof unless your quarterback is Michael Vick.
Yeah, I hear you.
But hey, Ben Roethlisberger back this week.
Yeah, practicing in full.
Is Brown back to being a top 5 wide receiver?
Instantly.
Top 3.
We'll see how much Brian will ascend.
That's where I am too. Top 5, yes. Top 3,
Martavis Bryant, is he going to take another step is what I'm wondering with Ben back.
Yeah, that's one to watch for too. Andy Dalton or Ben Roethlisberger this week?
Ben Roethlisberger.
Really? First game back, you're just jumping right in. Jumping in with both feet.
They're not rushing Ben back.
Better matchup for Dalton.
Yeah. And they both have outstanding weapons. It's tough to even pick which weapons I like better.
Yeah, let's talk about those weapons here. AJ Green, 10 receptions for barely 100 receiving yards combined the last 2 games. I think he bounces back here, though, against the Steelers.
Yeah, the problem, though, is Dalton's just kind of taking what's being given to him, and he's got some solid targets with Eifert and Jones and even Sanu.
Yeah, let's talk about Jones here for a second.
Yeah.
Sneaky GPP play for me. Love Marvin Jones this weekend.
Yeah.
20 targets in the last 2 games. Obviously, you like the matchup, but he should also be lined up across from Antoine Blake, who has allowed the second most passing yards and second most receptions out of any cornerback on the season. And, according to Pro Football Focus, ranks 108 out of 109 cornerbacks.
Well, I think
This
that
dude's
means
bad.
that's good.
This cornerback is bad. Bad.
That's good. So 108 out of 109 is not good.
Yeah. Him and Brandon Browner. The bottom 2. So, excellent matchup. The implied point total is 24.25 right now for the Bengals, so they're going to put points on the board. Marvin Jones, I think, gets a touchdown this weekend.
I like it.
And he's going to be cheap, and he's going to be low owned.
I hope it's Eifert, just for my own selfish reasons, but I like it.
Titans at Texans, Alfred Blue or Chris Polk? Who's it going to be?
Neither. I have no interest. I really don't.
Right.
This is a horrendous team.
Yes. But if you had to pick one, gun to your head, who is it?
Gun to my head. Just shoot me. Shoot me in the face.
Something told me you're going to say that. Pull the trigger. I know waivers are over, so both these guys are probably claimed by now. I think in the short term it's Blue, but in the long term it's Polk.
It's Blue if they're winning. It's Polk if they're losing, I think.
Yeah, it's the Texans. You're going to be losing probably.
Yep.
Maybe not this weekend against the Titans.
Yeah.
But in general, it's going to be from behind.
You don't care.
We mentioned Nate Washington at the top of the show. Is he a thing?
I don't think so.
I think he is.
There's plenty of targets to go around here. They throw the ball quite often. Yeah, you know what? We'll see. But Cecil Shorts comes back, and then who's a thing?
Listen, Nate Washington, 7 or more targets in every game that he started and finished the season.
Okay.
All 4 of them. I get it.
Yep.
Small sample, but still 4 games, 7 or more targets. He has 200-yard receiving games this season. Both of those games were games he played with Brian Hoyer. The 2 games he didn't play with Brian Hoyer, 7 for 105 yards combined. So him and Brian Hoyer got a thing. It's a thing.
It is a thing, isn't it?
I just want to throw that out there. I'm on Nate Washington. I think this is here to stick. Matt, who leads the Titans running backs in fantasy points this season?
Who leads Dexter McCluster?
Who leads them in rushing yards?
Dexter McCluster.
Yes. Weird, huh?
Very good.
Dexter McCluster.
Yeah, whatever. Report came out today. RotoWorld was reporting it. Expect Cobb to carry the bulk of the work as soon as he gets back.
Why not? Throw a 4th one into the mix.
Yeah, but this could be get him on your rosters. This could just end this whole fiasco.
I think we knew a couple weeks ago that Cobb should be owned. It was just a matter of how long do you wait until you do it.
Did you know that Antonio Andrews ran a 4.82 40?
That's terrible.
I couldn't keep up with him.
That's
maybe not now, but in my young days.
That's real bad.
I ran a 4.8 when I was in high school.
Do you want to talk about DGB before we move on? Anything? You just want to pump him up some more so everybody gets depressed this weekend.
I know.
You pump him up and everybody plays him and then nothing happens again.
You know, he had the highest snap count, I think, of the season for him again this past week.
Ooh, and you know what? That's really valuable in those leagues that give points per snap.
Count. Yeah, I don't know. He's still a guy that I'm hanging on to. I still believe he can have a nice second half of the season.
Hang on to him, yes, but
who knows if it's going to happen.
Yeah. Jets at Raiders. Matt, what happened to Chris Ivory last weekend? Does he have an injury? They're saying he doesn't, but he was on the bike. He was doing some work.
What do you think? He was just trying to get a little cardio in?
I'm just saying.
Clearly, he was hurt.
Didn't look very good.
Clearly, he was hurt.
Raiders 18th against the running back, but they haven't allowed a rushing touchdown since week 2.
And Ivory still was okay for you with your 11 points for the day.
Yeah, he saved
number
it.
5 overall.
Saved it with that touchdown.
Number 5 overall running back, considering he missed a game and played half a game with one leg. He's solid.
Brandon Marshall broke his 100-yard receiving or a touchdown streak last week.
Unfortunately, by his own doing.
Yeah, I'm not worried about him in general, but this is a tough matchup this week.
No, last week he dropped a touchdown. We probably all know that by now. Would have continued his domination. No worries. The Patriots taking,
Raiders
the head of the snake off.
The Raiders held both the Broncos and Chargers wide receivers out of the end zone these last 2 games. So, just want to point that out there. Not sure where to go with this, but
we don't talk about Decker ever. But when he's on the field,
getting there.
Okay, I thought we were moving on.
I
I
was gonna say not sure where to go with this, but DJ Hayden has allowed the 3rd most receptions this year of any cornerback, and he's going to be on Eric Decker. Not sure. I mean, Decker has been that 4 or 5 catch for 60-yard guy, and more often than not a touchdown.
Led the team in targets this past week.
I mean, just might be something.
Yeah,
might be something.
I mean, like you said, not the easiest matchup.
In general, not the easiest, but if DJ Hayden's on him, it's a great matchup.
Yep.
A lot of receptions to be had. I still can't believe that this kind of needs to be brought up, but I feel that it does. Jeff Cumberland for the GPP win. Start your tight ends against Oakland.
Nope.
When it gets Crockett Gilmore's like the cutoff. Crockett Gilmore, Gary Barnidge, okay. Jeff Cumberland, no. That's like the cutoff line.
I like it. Yeah.
All right.
Don't get me wrong. I love Cumberland Farms. His family's business is wonderful. Farms. I love my dollar coffees. But no, not in this not even in this matchup.
I think we all expected a bigger game out of Latavius Murray last week, but I don't think anybody's mad about the 85 rushing yards and a touchdown last week. But the Jets, best against the running back this season. They have only allowed 100-yard rusher. That rusher? Ryan Matthews. Weird, huh?
Interesting.
No other running back has even topped 60 rushing yards against them. Not on Latavius Murray this week.
No, and I love Latavius Murray, but
not this week.
I think he might be if possible, sell high. Only played in, what did we just chat about, 53% of snaps this past week. Not that there's one guy taking the rest of the snaps, but numerous times he'd come off the field while I watched this game, and I just couldn't understand why. He played great, averaged 5.7 yards a carry. Nice job picking up blitzes here and there when he was in there. Tywan Jones got some, 20% or so of the snaps. Marcel Reese is always in part of the mix. Olawale is in the 10 to 15% range. The numbers look like he's the bell cow, and certainly he's the guy that gets the most work. Yeah. It's just he comes off the field a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Not as much as you'd like.
And that's coming from me, who loves him as much as anybody. If you get somebody to believe that he's a top 10 running back rest of the season, I think you got to try to trade him.
In general, I like Amari Cooper and Michael Crabtree this year, but not for this matchup.
Amari Cooper is matchup proof. Everybody was talking about Verrett last week.
I don't like
See you later. Amari Cooper is just incredible. Did you see that run after the catch he had for the touchdown? That
great.
Cut? Awesome. Wow. I get it. It's Revis. I get it, but I don't know. I'm not sitting him.
Seahawks at Cowboys. Darren McFadden, your new Cowboys running back for apparently this week, according to Jera Jones. Tough matchup this week. If you're desperate like I am, you're going to...
Did anybody ask Greg Hardy if that's going to be okay?
Yeah, Greg Hardy, what a mess that guy is. McFadden, I don't know how much I'm buying into him.
Boy, he turned back the clock, though. He looked good.
He does. I mean, I'm going to give the guy almost 30 carries. I mean, he averaged over 5 yards a carry last week. But,
yeah.
I mean, yeah, we'll see how it goes, I guess.
Surprised after that kind of touches, he came out healthy.
Yeah. Des Bryant back practicing again. I still think it's another week or two before we see him, but good to see. It's coming back.
His foot looked great during the Hardy confrontation.
Yeah, that was interesting. I'd pay for that fight. I would.
Why? It'd be over quickly.
I don't know. Scrappy Des.
Yeah, I hear you.
I don't know. I'd watch it.
And Hardy does beat women, so that usually means something. I shouldn't. You know what? Hey, Hardy, just kidding, man. Just kidding.
Seahawks defense, I think if you're not playing the Rams defense in DFS, you're going with the Seahawks defense. Have to be one of the best defensive plays. I kind of prefer the Rams because they're at home and favored, as opposed to the Seahawks being on the road and favored as heavily as they are. But they do get the benefit of playing against Matt Castle. Really low implied point total here for the Cowboys at just 17.5 points. Like the Seahawks.
Yeah, Matt Castle went 10-5 once, you know.
That was a long time ago.
Yeah.
Peyton Hillis used to be on the cover of Madden.
That's true.
I mean,
yeah.
Come on. Things change.
That's for sure.
Only once this season has Russell Wilson thrown for multiple touchdowns. He's yet to have a 300-yard game. The rushing yards have been there to help the floor, but no rushing touchdowns this year. Matt, I know we had this discussion yesterday about his value, and seems to be on that brink of the top 10 quarterbacks for me, but that could change really quickly.
I think he's top 10 just because he has a high floor with the running ability, of course, but he's letting me down this year. I expected more out of him. I expected the run production to go down, which it has, but I kind of figured that the Jimmy Graham addition would make up for that. You know, he was number 3 overall, I think, in standard scoring last year. Right now he's number 8. He hasn't had his bye week yet, so that kind of skews it. It's probably more, points per game, more like in the 12 range. So, it's not looking good. He made some really stupid throws last week. It started out hot. You thought you might have a good week out of him, and then those couple bad interceptions. It's unfortunate. I'm looking to trade. He's my quarterback in our home league, and I've been looking to trade.
I'm telling you, Phillip Rivers.
Yeah,
I'm all about Phillip
I
Rivers.
love Ben Roethlisberger too.
Lynch looks like a running back 1 again. After 10 days of rest, he's going to get a Cowboys defense allowing the 3rd most fantasy points to opposing running backs. We all know about Lynch's home-road splits. He's typically a lot better at home than he is on the road, but game script, as we talked about, is definitely going to be in his favor in this one.
Yeah,
they're terrible against the run.
They are. I mean, I was just going to say the yards...
And the Seahawks are going to be up.
The yards against is not extremely high.
Actually, let's throw this out there for a second. Seahawks are projected for 23.5 points.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, Vegas is saying they're going to score 3 touchdowns. We just talked about how Russell Wilson can't throw multiple touchdowns in a game. Lynch is going to have one.
Yeah.
At least.
Yep.
That's what's going to happen.
Love it. Great matchup.
Great matchup. High point total. It's going to happen. Packers at Broncos. It's so weird. I feel like when this game was scheduled, everybody at the time were probably thinking high-scoring game.
Hey, I'm sorry. Before we go on to this, Lockett, hurt, out for the year. Richardson, very similar type player. Do you have any care that he's coming off? No? Okay.
Nothing. But Packers and Broncos, I feel like when this game first came out, everybody was thinking high-powered offenses, lots of scoring. It's been the exact opposite this year. Both teams have great defenses, and both offenses have been kind of struggling.
Yep.
Obviously, the Broncos struggling a little bit more than the Packers as far as the offense goes. But coming off the bye week, Matt, who do you think has more fantasy points, Eddie Lacy or James Starks in this one?
Well, Eddie Lacy is the one that's actually practicing currently and healthy, according to McCarthy. They're talking about a hip issue. Not talking about really severity, but not good when you're coming off a bye week and he's still not practicing on Wednesday if you're talking about James Starks. So that's interesting for me. Something to keep an eye on. And they did mention how it sounds like Eddie Lacy's ankle thing is behind him, so maybe that's playing a little bit more an account for the lack of production there's been from him the last couple of weeks. So
absolutely.
I've been one of the guys that's still been on his side, and I think Eddie Lacy's going to have a strong second half of the year. So for me, it's Eddie Lacy. I mean, especially right now, it's an easy answer because we don't even know if Starks is definitely going to play. You're not practicing on Wednesday after a bye week, like I said. That raises some red flags for me.
Really does, actually, not to mention it. Aaron Rodgers this season seems to be a consistent 250 passing yard, 2-touchdown guy. Denver has been the best defense against opposing quarterbacks, and they've only allowed one quarterback to get multiple touchdowns against them this season. That was Josh McCown. It's kind of weird that was McCown, but I think Rodgers will still be all right in this game. Sounds like he's getting Devontae Adams back for this one, just to muddle up the Packers wide receiver core a little bit. I have no interest in Adams at all, though.
I do. If he's available, I'm picking him up.
Yeah, but Yeah, available, sure. DFS-wise now.
He's been practiced since Monday, so it sounds. I mean, I got a feeling that thing is obviously behind him. That ankle. We'll see. I mean, for me, he's a guy who a lot of people was a darling coming into the preseason. He really didn't have much time to prove or disprove that before the injury, and Aaron Rodgers is his quarterback, and he's a skilled player. We really liked him in his rookie year, so I have interest in him, definitely.
Remember back when he was a fourth-round pick?
Yeah.
That happened.
It
that
did.
happened at the beginning of the summer.
As soon as that injury happened, he vaulted up charts.
Yeah. Broncos also coming off the bye and kind of have some running back issues to work through. They got to make the change to Hillman, right?
It's a
done deal.
I think it's been worked.
Peyton Manning, the last 3 games, has not topped 300 passing yards in any of them. Has 2 touchdowns to 7 interceptions. Yikes.
Yeah. They're winning in spite of him, not because of him. That's crazy. How fast this has happened.
The only glimmer of hope I have for Peyton is last season, him and Demaryius Thomas kind of struggled going into their bye week, and then they came out of the bye week like gangbusters. I'm hoping that happens again this year. I think it could.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's a new scheme for Peyton. He's certainly a veteran who's been around for quite a while, but I'm always one that advocates for sometimes it's harder to play, obviously, when you're thinking more than you're just reacting out there. So, he's making a lot of the throws that he's making too. A lot of these interceptions, it's not like the arm strength was the problem. It was like it was a bad decision, which is something we don't see much from him. So, maybe we shouldn't be burying him just yet. We'll see coming off the bye if that kind of helped correct some things, but. I don't know. It's
kind of funny. The Broncos have 2 fantasy players that are in the top 3 in their respective positions. Beginning of the season, you would have said that would have been probably C.J. Anderson and Peyton Manning, maybe Demaryius Thomas, but instead it's their defense and their kicker.
Yeah.
Weird. Colts at Panthers.
Speaking of that, if McManus was dropped last week, we should have. Hopefully, we mentioned it last week. Go get him.
Absolutely.
Quickly.
I know I had him in all my home leagues.
You kept him.
I kept him.
Yeah.
And just picked up another kicker. Colts at Panthers. Carolina has the 3rd best pass defense in the league. But on the flip side of that, Dante Moncrief has a touchdown in every game that Andrew Luck has played. Which one wins out? I think Moncrief gets shut out.
You do, huh?
Out of the end zone, yeah.
I guess law of averages say so. I'll agree with you.
I think that's where it's going to go. Panthers, bottom 10 in run defense, but I am very disinterested in Frank Gore. He doesn't do it for me.
Well, I mean, they had to come from behind last week, so I think if they're in a game,
they're going to be doing that in this game too, though. They're 7.5-point dogs.
Yeah, and if that really becomes the case, then sure.
Listen to this.
You benching him though? No, right? You're not DFSing him, but you're not benching him.
I was talking about this with Rob. You remember Rob? He used to be on this podcast back in the day. Rob and I were talking about this yesterday. Since Bradshaw has rejoined the team, Gore's snaps have not been higher than 49% of the snaps. He hasn't gone up past that. Meanwhile, Bradshaw saw an increase 24% 2 weeks ago, 46% last week. So I think there's something to watch there. Gore had been getting around 70 to 75% of the snaps in the last 2 weeks in the 40s. Just saying, we're seeing Bradshaw ticking up. We're seeing Gore ticking down.
I think he's more of the passing game back, so last week it makes sense.
He absolutely is. I wanted to bring that up as well.
Yeah, makes sense. They were getting their ass kicked.
When I brought up the numbers, I think it was like 31 out of Bradshaw's 34 snaps were passing plays. But, I mean, it's just something interesting. Snaps are going where they're going. Meanwhile, the Panthers' offense should have its way with Indy. That seems weird to say, but the Colts 6th worst against opposing running backs. Jonathan Stewart is looking like Jay Stu from last year. Over 200 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns the last 2 weeks. Another solid matchup here for Jonathan Stewart.
Yeah, just go away, Mike Tolbert.
Yeah. Colts also bottom 3rd in the league against...
In the nicest way possible, I mean that.
Colts bottom 3rd in the league against the tight end. They've allowed 179 yards and 2 touchdowns to tight ends over the last 2 weeks. Greg Olsen. Cam Newton, Greg Olsen stack. It's coming.
Like it.
It's coming.
Like it.
Matt, that's all I got for the games here. what did you want to throw at everybody before we go watch some basketball?
Basketball's back. The Lakers will be on tonight, getting demolished by Minnesota in tribute to Flip Saunders. That was a sad thing that you found out last week. Flip passing away. So I'm actually almost kind of pulling for the Timberwolves tonight. But yeah, I mean, basketball season's kicking off. This is the best time of the year.
Anything
the best time of the year. No, I was just gonna say this is the best time of the year. I got basketball every day of the week that I don't have football. It's like heaven for me.
I know, it's great.
Great game tomorrow night. Excited for that. Will the Dolphins keep this up, or is it the buzzsaw of the Patriots kind of going to end this fun?
In Gillette. If it wasn't in Gillette, I think I'd roll with more of the Dolphins, but Gillette's tough to come into and put up points.
Yep.
It's real tough.
I think the honeymoon is over. Miami.
All right, guys, that'll do it. Make sure to check out my cash game lineups up on the site later this week, as well as my GPP video. And as always, hit us up on Twitter at Marcus Katkin, at Matt Dougal.
See ya.